we're here. We're an artist now. I'm an actual artist with I actually wrote, composed, produced my own mini album. Good morning, all. My name is Brittany, and welcome to Yappin to the Beat, a podcast like series on my music channel where I yap about anything and everything music related. This is the introduction episode, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, how I got into music, how I got into writing, and other things. I'm fixing these dang bangs. These bangs are awful. May tell the story about how the banks ended up the way that they did. But good morning, and I hope your morning is going, or whenever you're watching this, actually. It could be in the evening, it could be in the afternoon. I hope that your day is going well. And I'll introduce myself a little bit. I'm Brittany, and I am a producer and songwriter and now artist. Anyways, so welcome to Yappin to the Beat, where I just talk about whatever comes to mind. You'll never know what these episodes go, to be fair. I get on and I have a topic, and then I have an outline, and then topic, and then an outline, and then I just yap for like 30 minutes or an hour, depending on how long and how big the topic is. And so it could be anywhere from 30 minutes to about an hour. And for this episode, it's the introduction episode. So the introduction episode, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. I'm a songwriter, producer. I am located in the Pensacola area, Northwest Florida, but I grew up in Northeast Tennessee my entire childhood. So I grew up in Appalachia my entire childhood. And I think that's it, being. I'll say that growing up in Appalachia definitely did influence the way I write and the way that the way that I was creative. And then I moved down here in 2013 to escape a pretty awful situation. And so I've been here since 2013, but I grew up in Northeast Tennessee my entire childhood, and then I've been here for about 12 years now. I've always been a writer. I've always enjoyed writing. I've always loved writing. Writing is probably the one thing I think I am good at. Whether it's writing short stories or having novel ideas or poetry. Poetry, I think, was the big one. I think if you'd ask anybody who I grew up with, they'll tell you that they know me as somebody who wrote poetry. And then now I am a songwriter. And I've always wanted to be I've always wanted to be an artist. I think that part of my dream, so to speak, was more of an imaginary thing and not something that I think I could always accomplish. Because poetry writing and songwriting are actually kind of different, and they don't work the same. But you could be good at both, right? And so I was mostly a poetry and a short story and a novel girl, and had so many novel ideas, had so many book ideas growing up, and none of them ever got finished. And I believe that is because I have ADHD. And it's still the same to this day. Like, I have so many novel ideas, right? And just not time to write, right? But I guess I would attribute the push to be a songwriter to BTS's Suga, right? Who I got to know BTS around 2015 as a casual fan, and then an actual ARMY in 2016. And there was one particular song And it's the intro, The Most Beautiful Moment in Life. Off the, let me check. Yeah, the most intro, The Most Beautiful Moment in Life, which is Suga's, one of Suga's solos, right? And I would use it often to write, because at some point in my 20 years, I had a Slenderverse series, and I also wrote a lot of fan fiction. And so I would use this one. This particular song would end up on my playlist specifically because it urged me to write. But sometime in 2016, or not 2016, but 2017, I listened to this for like the bajillionth time. And I was like, I would just really like to be able to do that. I've written lyrics before, I had these little imagine spots where I was in this group, and then I'm a very imaginative person. Okay, let's just go there. I have these little imagine spots. All right, if you talk to me and you ever got to know me, or ever talked to me first without getting to know me, you would not guess that I am an ISFJ. My MBTI would be an ISFJ because I am very, very creative. But here's the thing, right? Not very risk taking. Not in the slightest, right? And so to me, going into songwriting, going into being an artist was a risky move, but something I had always imagined I wanted to do. But it was what I would consider a risky move. But that in air quotes, a risky move, right? So, sorry. So I never went for it, right? I'd write song lyrics, right? And I'd put them in my docs, right? And I would just leave them there because while your girl had like lyrics and a melody in her head, she didn't have the ability to turn that music into anything. Like that ability would come way later, but if I attribute my music career to anybody, there's two people or two separate things. There's Suga. There's three things, right? Suga. There is New Jeans' Hype Boy, which got me into doing 3 a.m., which 3 a.m. is my first EP I ever produced. That was thanks to New Jeans' Hype Boy, right? I heard that song. Funnily enough, I think their debut song was it Attention? I think Attention was their debut song, and that's still my favorite New Jeans song to this day, which is Attention. But it was Hype Boy that, got to me in a time that was just really, really dark, and I was angry all of the time. And then I heard this song, it was New Jeans' Hype Boy, and I was like, wow, that's good, right? That's some good stuff. Hab's putting out some good stuff lately. And so I was like, well, I'm in a position right now where I'm facing homelessness. I'm not making any money. I'm waiting for government assistance to help with this stuff until I can get money to come in. Why not learn now? Why not learn now? Right? Why not learn how to do things now? Like, you like city pop a lot, right? And you like retro pop. Why not try something there? I would continue to be known as somebody who does almost essentially retro pop, or city pop in particular, right? At that point I would be known as the person who would do that. But until, let's rewind back. I'm going to need to warn you guys that this is Yappin to the beat. This is going to be a little bit all over the place, right? If you don't want to hear an ADHD person yap for a bunch of topics, this is like the ADHD podcast of all ADHD podcasts. I may go back, forth. I may go off on tangents. That's kind of the point, but I'm putting it on my music channel because it's music related, right? And so let's rewind back to Suga. Suga's solo, and then his first Augustine mixtape would be the formative years of my beginning songwriting. Would be the formative years of that. Right? Hi, baby. It's my cat, one of my cats. This is Tiara, if you can see her. She pops up in some of my other gameplay videos. But anyway, she's also my biggest fan. Anyway, so At this point, with the sugar thing, right? At this point, all I want to be is a songwriter, right? I'm not really pushing the idea of being an artist. I want to be a songwriter. I want to write songs for other people. I want to help make music for other people. So we're at that point, right? And then a lot of things happen, right? So at this point, right, I'm trying to refine my songwriting skills. To be fair, you can take songwriting classes, and I actually think that if you are really starting out, that might be your best bet. I'm sure there's stuff on YouTube for free as well, because that's how I got into music theory, is videos on YouTube, right? But sometimes you're really just, to be authentic to yourself, you're really learning it on your own as you go, right? But so I'm really trying to hone in my songwriting, and then I'm starting to send it. We're getting about late 2017, maybe early 2018. We're getting in the groove of trying to send this to places. More than likely it's K-pop places. I did a lot of K-pop auditions between 2018 and 2020, right? But I didn't want to be a K-pop idol. I just wanted to write for K-pop idols, right? Especially FX. And that dream is dead. That dream is dead on water. It is dead on water. Anyways, but there's still groups I want to write for. There's still, I showed up to the NCT 127 Momentum concert with, and I will post, like, if you're listening to this audio, there is a picture. I'll link you to my Instagram where you can look there, because I'll put I've been meaning to do it, but like a compilation post of the concert with a sign that said Johnny You Me collab. So like I still want to work with K-pop idols. Like that's not like different. There's also Western artists I want to work with too. So it's not just K-pop. There's other artists I want to work with too. I'd love to work with Aurora. That would be great. But anyways, at this point, we are just aiming to be a songwriter. In 2018, I got this ukulele from Target for $40, and it would be the Kickstarter to learning chord progression. I will still suggest it to anybody who's really getting into this. Do go on YouTube. I think I'll link the one of the music theory courses that I took in the description of this video, but I went in and I just learned ukulele chord progressions, and it would be the game changer to making songs, right? We wouldn't learn how to fill out what a melody is, but we would learn chord progression, right? Which is important, right? Is important to the songwriting. But I didn't have any equipment. I was having a hard time learning how to produce. Everything that I got into at some point had a steep learning curve even GarageBand had this weird learning curve for me. It was hard, and because I wasn't getting it immediately, I just stuck to the ukulele. I was doing acoustic recordings. I was trying to get in as a singer so I could like songwrite for people. I was throwing out auditions as quickly as it come. Then I had sometime in 2018, I had the breakup, and then I had a toxic friendship fallout, and then I continued to try to be a songwriter, right, and write songs. At this point, like I said, being an artist, the idea of being an artist was so far away from my peripheral, and I think it's because I was terrified of the idea of being one. I would post like songs I was writing, but these were always going to intend to be for someone else, I think, right? And that was never going to work because songwriting is an extension of myself. Like my songs are an extension of me, so that was never really going to work. But at some point in early 2020, before COVID really struck, I came across I don't think I screen capped it. So I'll have to sign in and I'll have to put it up where I completely gave up I announced it on my personal Instagram. I'm like, I'm giving this up. Like, I can't do this anymore. I have no idea where this is gonna go. I've been rejected. This is a learning curve. I just started getting IT corporate IT, and so I gave up. I left my songwriting dreams behind, right? And then I got fired from that place, and then I went back to school, and then we got to a point where we were facing like homelessness, right? We had no money for food. Both Leslie and I had a hard time finding a job. It was genuinely a very rough time, and somewhere around, and we were like slated to get help with rent, but it was just piling and it was piling, and it was just so stressful. I felt angry and anxious all of the time. And one day, I think it was sometime in December, maybe, yeah, like November or December, I remember sitting down and I was just going through. I was like, what's K-pop up to lately? Like, I'm not a new goo stan by any means. I don't actually keep up with any of these new groups. It adds a song to a playlist, and that's about as far as I'm going. I have my groups I stan already, and that's good enough for me. And there's also this fear of standing any new female groups, because every time I stan a female group, they disband. So a little bit like traumatized there. But anyway, so in 2022, I was on my laptop, and this laptop couldn't charge with a damn, by the way. I mean, she was hanging on for her dear life. When I say that I had issues with getting equipment to do this stuff on, I mean it, right? And so I was sitting there and I heard the song, and it was New Jeans, which is the alternate version of New Jeans, right? New Jeans, and it was Hype Boy, and I was like, this sounds great as fuck. I may need to bleep that out, actually. I don't know what YouTube's policy, or I may have to bleep that out. But it sounds great AF, and I'm like, you know what? I could do this. I could learn how to produce. I got time on my hands. I'm looking for jobs, and I'm waiting on the government assistance so I don't be tossed out with my cats and my roommate. I'm sitting here and I'm waiting. Why not learn it? Why not just learn? Why not just give it a chance, right? Like, at this point, you've got nothing to lose. You don't have auditions to fail. You don't really have anything to fail at this point. Oh my goodness. There we go, Booter. Sorry about that. Something about this is really strange. Are you okay? You okay? This is Toby, by the way. Yeah. Anyways, that was weird. This thing's been doing this a lot lately, and it's not been Toby's fault at all. He's lost weight. Even at his heaviest, this would still fit him. So this has been really odd lately. Anyways. So, at a certain point, right, we're learning how to do music theory, and we're getting on BandLab. This is not my first realm with producing music. Like, I would use, there was this one thing I'd used, and then there's like little offsets here and there on your browser that you can do. But my first real foray into producing was in 2022, right? And it was BandLab. And so eventually I was learning how to do music theory, and I was learning how chord progressions work. And, I'm still, to this day, I'm still learning things. I'm still learning how to do like a lot of things, right? And I'm learning as I go, and I think that's perfectly fine. Some people have to learn and then do. I think my best friend Oren is like that. I think he wants to stew and learn and then do. But I don't learn like that. If I sit there and I stew, I just don't do anything. I need to be doing as I go, and I need to be learning as I go, because then I'm doing something. Otherwise, I'm letting the fear of being bad at something affects how this stuff goes, right? And so I'm sitting there and I'm learning how to work with BandLab. And then 3 a.m., I released 3 a.m. June of 2023. And then I was like, this was supposed to have lyrics and vocals in it, but I didn't have the equipment at the time to record those vocals. If I did, I didn't have the equipment to clean it up. And the vocals absolutely needed a lot of work. And to be fair to myself, I don't sound horrible. I actually think I have a pretty great voice. But, you can always improve. And I think that's what we keep it moving. We continue to improve. We work and we work and we work. And we continue to improve, right? That's the crux of it. But there were supposed to be lyrics and vocals to this, and there wasn't any way. So I just released it June 2023, and people liked it. People enjoyed it, right? And then Little Spaceships got released as a bit of a placeholder for the album the mini album that would end up being released in June of 2025, right? And so Little Spaceships got released in 2024. It's a little bit of a placeholder with songs that I worked on that I didn't think I was gonna. Also, some of them had lyrics, but I just didn't really have time, and I wanted to do something to hold people over. And then came the real difficult work, and that was Saturn Returns. Saturn Returns was a bitch to do. It was awful, and that is because it had like 3 concept changes. There were 3 concept changes. Although the crux of it was romantic relationships, Saturn in the 7th house type of vibes. The concept of them changed, and then there were songs I had to take off because I couldn't either do them vocally or they were just really difficult to do, right? Like maybe I produced them in a way that made it difficult to sing to. Or my range hasn't extended that far yet, and it was genuinely difficult to do, right? And so three changes. I actually almost gave up Saturn Returns too, by the way. I almost tossed it. When it was Confessions of a Commitment Phobe, I tossed it. I verbally, like metaphorically, proverbially tossed it in the trash can. And then another K-pop group came to save the day, and that was NCT 127. I went with my best friend, roommate Leslie. We went to Duluth, and then we got the VIP tickets. We had pit and sound check, and that was all that it would be able to stay for because I injured my back. No, I didn't like break it or anything. I pulled a muscle back there. Pulled a muscle back there like in 2017, and now I tend, when it doesn't really heal properly, you tend to tear that muscle again and again, and that's what happened. But as I was watching them do sound check, I was like, damn, I wish I was up there, right? I wish I was up there. And this is not the first time I was like looking at it and be like, damn, I wish that were me, right? When I was at the Watsky concert, who is another big inspiration for me, by the way, is Watsky, was up here in Pensacola at the Vinyl, and I got VIP tickets for that as well, and also first row barricade. I was up there. I was like, dang, I genuinely wish that were me. I was going through, because that was during the time where I was being a songwriter, and then I got a trapped nerve, and I think it was my right hand, and couldn't play the ukulele at all, which was my main source of doing music. And so I was watching NCT up there, and I'm like, I wish that were me, right? And then when I was on my way home, I was like, let's give this another shot, right? Let's just go. Let's go. I was going to toss this in a trash can. I recorded vocals. I hated how I still kind of wince up a little bit when I hear the final production. But that's not because I think I'm horrible. It's because it's just like, I'm not used to hearing myself sound saccharine and sweet like that, because my own voice to me sounds different, right? And that is a big, I think I mentioned this in the 500-day life challenge video, but for any up-and-coming songwriters that are just new into this, that is a big thing, by the way. That is going to be like, if I can give one piece of advice, is to keep it moving. You will record your vocals, and you'll hear that shit on Audacity. And you are just going to, it is a common phenomenon. It is not just you. It is, most singer-songwriters don't like the way they sound hearing themselves back, right? Keep it moving. Just keep it moving. Get, clean her up. If you do have a mixing mastering engineer on deck, they'll do that for you. Just send it in, like, just record and just get it done, right? Now your mixing mastering engineer might come back and be like, can you record this again? Can you do this? Can you do this? If you have the chance to go into a studio, this is my studio, by the way. This is my studio, right? You get in the studio, they may have you record it over and over again. You're not going to exactly like how you sound. If you do, that's great. Like, more power to you. Right now, I have a very neutral perspective on my singing voice. Like, she's good. She could be better. Honestly, you just work on it. You always work on it, right? That's just all that you do, right? You get better as you go, right? Look, it's bisexual colors. Pride month. I almost said queer month. Pride month. I'm queer. Yeah, I actually released Saturn Returns during Pride month. Celebrate your local queer artists. Okay. Anyway, so that's how we got to Saturn Returns. That's how I'm an official artist now, which is great. I never thought we'd actually be here. I never thought Saturn Returns would actually be a thing. Like, at some point I thought I was just going to give it up because I just couldn't do it, right? And then I just worked. I worked inwards. I continuously worked on this. I worked and I worked and I worked until we got a product that I was satisfied with. That other people seem to be satisfied with too. I'll take their word for it, right? I have a very neutral perspective of anything that I do personally. And that's because when you do the technical side of things over and over and over and over again, you get kind of to a point where you just view things kind of from a neutral technical perspective. That being said, we're working on new stuff already. You're like, already? I'm like, yeah, now that I know how to do this stuff, I'm just going to do it, right? I'm just going to cut a track. And it's going to be a little bit darker. It is going to be a little bit darker because I have a lot to say. And it may be just a bunch of mini albums coming out with like different types of themes. I have a lot to say, and I've been keeping it in here, and it's because I've been stuck on finishing Saturn Returns and sticking to its conceptual and like its core theme, right? Which is relationships, romantic relationships, the idea of things falling apart, being apathetic when you're not really apathetic, you're just numb, being envious of a person that you love, but also just missing them. There's core things that I've learned through my Saturn return in Aquarius in the 7th house. And that's what it went from being like visions of commitment phobe, which was just not necessarily the real theme. The real theme came from the hard lessons. And to be fair, this is not the first hard lesson love songs you'll hear. By the way, they're gonna keep coming, right? They're gonna keep coming. Right, we're gonna keep writing at it, right? I write where the wind takes me, which is the weirdest thing I think an ISFJ has ever said, but it's kind of true. Like, I write based off my experience, my personal feelings. It's an extension of myself. It's the one thing that I can take risks with. It's the one thing that I can be creative with, because I tend to not be a very risk-taking person in real life, right? I'm very grounded, very very much a sensor, right? And so I don't really take a lot of risk. I think I do a risk calculation. I think releasing anything that's super personal is already really risky. But music is a place where I can really hone that in. Writing is usually a pretty big place where I can hone that in, right? I can be as creative as I want to. And my methods are more ADHD based than they are ISFJ based. Sometimes I'll just throw something at a wall and continuously throw it until it sticks, and then make something structured out of it. So my creative side's a little bit different from my ISFJ side, which is a very structured, very grounded, very sensor type of person, right? I'm a very, very grounded person. I'm very practical. I'm very, like I said, very sensory, right? Like, and so getting to this point it's wild to me that I kept it moving. I kept it moving. I I gotta talk about these bangs. Hold on, a little side tangent on these bangs. So my hair looked fine when I was doing the photo shoot, and then I got really overheated one day. Like I think it was that Sunday after the photo shoot. I went either for a walk or I went to get something from the library, and it chopped that I got really overheated. I chopped her off, and I accidentally chopped off too much of the bangs. Now I went the next week. To Supercuts. I'm like, hey, can you fix this? She's like, yeah, I could fix it, but it's still, it's still kind of choppy. She did the best she could. I think I'm just gonna let them grow out, like grow up down to here, and then I'm gonna have my hair cut again. She was like, hey, come in like 6 to 8 weeks, we'll trim them. And I'm like, no, I'm thinking I'm good. I'm gonna actually let these grow out, and then when it grows out like down to here, I'm gonna have it all cut. Then I'll go back to the salon and have it cut, and maybe do a side part because I look better with side parts than I do look okay with curtain bangs. Or maybe try getting a wispy type bang. I haven't tried that out yet. I might give that a try too, but I'm gonna let these grow out. But unfortunately, they are still the worst to work with. Okay, so rant done. Okay, so we're here. We're an artist now. I am an actual artist with actual, like, I actually wrote, composed, produced my own mini album by myself, right? Now, I had the eyes and ears of people giving me like technical feedback, like, hey, your vocals are a little on this, or hey, your vocals are too loud on the track and stuff like that. I've had people come in, their feedback and their help has been super important. My really good friend, one of my very close friends, Lyndon, is the reason I finished this in the first place, right? And so I was able to get the equipment in order to do and finish and actually work on the album. So he's like the executive producer on this album. Oren's feedback was just essential. He was the first person to listen to this outside of Leslie, who lives right next door, like right there. Her room's like right there, so she hears even the roughest cuts of it. So their feedback was super important, but I did this all on my own. If you had told, like, I'm 31 right now. I'll be about 32 next month. 2017. Oh, you tell baby me, like 13-year-old me or 15-year-old me, that I would actually be an artist. She would have looked at you like you were insane. Hell, even 2016, 2017 Brittany, when you say, hey, your dreams are a reality now, you're an artist now, she'd look at you like you were insane, right? Because this was a pipe dream. This was a dream. Like, I could do poetry, I could write fan fiction, I did my Slenderverse series, like I could probably write a book. I don't think that would be like, I wrote 3 poetry books. They're on Wattpad. And but if you told her, hey, you're also a songwriter, you're not just a songwriter or a producer, you're an actual artist now, she'd look at you like you were insane. She would, because that was a pipe dream. So we're here now, right? We're here, and the sky is the limit now, right? The sky is the limit now. And if I could leave you with anything for today's episode, is that just start. Okay? And also, don't do like me and do it the hard way. If you have trouble learning how to do hooks or write songs or whatever, go take a class. There could be master classes. There's YouTube. YouTube's been like really important. You want to do music theory? There's YouTube videos. I may do a compilation for y'all. And what helped me, like, I had vocal teachers on YouTube. It's what really helped. What really helped me actually get better was just doing it over and over again, and listening to the technicals. And eventually it goes, well, my voice doesn't sound great. I don't like the sound of it, to, okay, you are pitchy here. Let's try and do it here. Let's go up a octave or like down, or hey, you're a little off key here. Let's pitch correct. Like you get into the habit of doing that. So if I could say anything from an indie artist to somebody who wants to start, I would suggest just, you can't, if you are like me, then just start. But if you're like Oren, then, you know, doing classes and, you know, learning how to do music theory and taking vocal lessons to where you feel like you're confident to go, that's also okay too. But just do it. Just get started. Hi, baby. Just get started. Toby said to rise up and get started. I think he's going to go back to sleep, though, to be fair. All right. That is episode 1 of Yappin' to the Beat. I'm Brittany. Give this video a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye. Say the